so I think it's better heard from his mouth. But I thought I'd just introduce him. And he's been into this like for last 30 years. So he's been uh, very extensively researching and working with various groups. And he does several sessions also, like for parents and for children, and I believe so. And he also works with education institutes and all. So I suppose, yeah, let's wait for him. And thank you all for joining. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Pranav. And I was just informing people who are here for the first time that we meet every Saturday, 5 o'clock. Sometimes we call in guests, and like how we have called Jinan G, and he has very sweetly accepted to our first call itself, right, Pranav? And
It wasn't the first though. Yeah, but yeah, it took some time to, he had busy schedule. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, scheduling is fine, but he kind of...
Yeah. He did agree. Yeah, so that was
Right.
good
So
for
we get some guests. The guests could be people like Jinan, and we have had Peter Gray and many others, or just homeschooling parents sharing their journey. Otherwise, we meet on other Saturdays to just discuss in great detail about unschooling, homeschooling, open learning, about Aarohi. So all of that also happens. So the link remains the same. So you can join in any Saturday at 5 o'clock. We are there almost all Saturdays of the year, almost, barring few holidays. And we have got about, as I was boasting about 170 odd recordings of the previous meetups over the last 3.5 years or so. So anybody wants to, since we are still waiting, we can just have a chit chat. Anybody wants to say anything, share anything, ask anything, absolutely open till he comes in, and then we can switch over.
And even while he talks, he probably make a note of something and you want to ask some question. So schedule would be like first 5 minutes of introduction and then half an hour of his talk, and then we'll open it for Q&A. So you may probably make a note of whatever, if you have any doubts, queries, whatever, and directly address it to him. So yeah, that's the flow. Yeah, hi Jiran. I think it's still connecting. Hi Jinan, are you there? Can you hear us? I suppose you are on mute, Jinan.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Jiran. Yeah. Welcome. So this is a small gathering of families. I assume most of them must be doing homeschooling, unschooling, open learning. And I was just telling them about your work and about what you do, as in, what is, you have some thoughts on learning, education, how the tribes, how you have worked with various tribes and indigenous groups across India, and you have studied them extensively. So without taking much time of yours and others who have been like patiently waiting for you to join, I would rather request you to please start addressing, and we have told them after half an hour, whatever are the Q&A or questions, they may ask you. So now it's a humble request, everybody, please, if you can please switch on the videos. for Chinan's comfort and so that he can start. Rajneesh, do we spotlight
Jinanji,
Chinan?
one small question. Is it okay if we record the session?
No, please record, but do send me also the recording.
Please, surely, surely.
What has happened is that, I completely forgot about this. So that's a problem. So I usually do recording, but I'm not in a position to record right now. No problem. Huh?
I'll take care of that, Jinanji.
Yeah.
Jinan, do you need access to like host or something? Do you want to present something?
Pardon? No, I will do it if I feel like.
Yeah,
Otherwise, I mean, I've kept something ready for presentation. But let me just do right now. I'll start talking, and then let's see. If required, then I will
fair
do
enough.
the
Sure, sure,
presentation. And actually,
sure.
we can mix this up. Because I usually do a PowerPoint and then start talking. So maybe we can, I can put some, basic issues, and then maybe, I don't know. We'll keep it open now.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ratnesh will be moderating the whole thing, and I suppose you
Yes.
know Ratnesh is the founding family of
Yes.
Aarohi.
Yes. 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 I'm aware. I'm aware.
So you can
Yeah.
please start.
Yeah.
Jinanji, we can start. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I began this whole question about education when I was in my fourth year in engineering, and I was luckily expelled from the college. And of course, in the first 2 3 years, I used to drink, smoke, and all that. So, and I got expelled. So, and it was fantastic because that is a time when I really had, my own time to really think about what is this drama, tragedy that is happening in the name of education. Because I began to look at the friends around, the people who are doing engineering, and I found that truly nobody was interested in learning. Of course, they were getting good marks. Don't confuse between these two things. They were getting 90% and all that, but commitment to learning was completely missing. So this is what really intrigued me, that why is it that nobody is really committed to learning? Nobody is, and so immediately at that time, and I also realized that the knowledge that we consume is all produced in the West. We only keep hearing of Charles Law, Boyle's Law, all those kind of people, and without having any patriotic fervor, I began to look at why is it that nobody from this country is not being, their name is not there. Not that I'm too much worried about that, just that it thought arose, that why is it that we are only hearing this Charles and Boyle's Law and Maxwell and people like that, and all the books. I was doing engineering, uh, in Bhopal. So, and actually that and since I was expelled, I also, one of my professor friend was running a school, primary school. So he invited me, why don't you spend time there, since you're already out of the college, spend some time there, and just spend time with children. So I spent some time there, but somehow, uh, I mean, I was not really getting a hang of it. Why should we? Why is this thing organized in such a manner? Because uh, well, that one year I did, I spent some time in the school, and I did some readings little bit, and I went back to take the degree, and but so in fourth year I actually got back to studies, meaning I went back to the college, and I decided to take the degree. And at that time, I decided two things: never do anything that I don't like to do, and second thing was that never do 9 to 5 job. So with these two decisions, I went back. I finished the degree, but never looked for job. But luckily, after 2 years of just roaming around here and there, I got admission to NID, National Institute of Design in Ahmedabad. And actually, I went there only because I thought, next 2 years I'll get stipend and I can continue to lead a student life with no tension, just having fantastic time. So that was my intention. But I went and studied it. When I went to NID, I realized I found a fantastic kind of an environment there, where actually the people were actually learning. The uh, all the students were truly involved in learning. They were exploring things, and the teachers were not into teaching at all, but they themselves were into exploration. And so I got actually interested in understanding why is a certain context makes people interested in learning, whereas other contexts don't. So apart from taking interest in design, learning design, I also started taking interest in uh, understanding what is a learning environment. Why do people learn at all? You know. So so after my so those three years at NID was fantastic. I did several explorations about learning and things like that. And I was also very much committed to learning design, because I remember our photographic course was just two a week or so, but I actually did it for 6 months because I was so much interested. So everything I did in the design school was very much motivated by my own desire to understand things, make things, learn things. uh, so I really but there were two things that I have began to have problem with NID. One was that my aesthetic sense was getting completely conditioned, like the whole education, the knowledge content. I found that even the aesthetic sense was very Western. So so I began to really explore the whole uh, you know uh, issue of what is aesthetic sense, what is culture, issues like that. Because because somehow I felt that when you talk about India, there should be something Indian about things, no? Because if you get into NID, it's almost like a Western university where they of course they only talk about Bauhaus and Ulm and and various masters that were in those days who created design schools in Germany. And it was as if those kind of they were imitating their life. Of course, so the freedom that NID had was basically to become a Western designer. So again, the whole notion of freedom I began to question. And of course there were other things that I began to address. And then my next step was to, luckily, because I got interested in. So there's one very important thing that happened, was that at NID, the process was like this: that you plan something first and then you go and make. What that means is that you use your head first, make the plan, go to the workshop, get material, and execute it. It is almost like the mind is using the body as a servant, as a slave. The master is the mind and the worker is the body. I found that very, very, somehow I began to address that. And I completely quit this process and I began to work with materials directly. I went to the woodwork department, or clay, plaster of Paris, different materials I began to explore directly. Not first using the mind and then, using the body, but directly engaging with the material and learning. And that is very important to mention, because the fundamental problem of modernity is something that none of the alternative education people are addressing. That is the fragmentation of body and mind. Of course, they have created all this silly terminologies like holistic learning, experiential learning, and all that kind of nonsense, with no idea about what exactly is this. So I began to. So this is a fantastic experience at NID. And luckily here also, I was lucky that, the department head of ceramics threw me out, because I was not officially meant to learn ceramics. I was a mechanical engineer, or sorry, I have a degree in mechanical engineering, and I was supposed to do things about engineering. And I wanted to work with labs. So I was very lucky again, But I was so much interested. I took clay into my room, and I would start working there. So luckily, I was saved from the regular nonsense that every person who goes into such educational paradigm goes through, which is that the teacher will tell you what are the methods of handling clay and what are the tools to be used. Luckily, I was saved from both the methods and tools, and I directly began to engage with the material, and it was a fantastic journey. And I began to actually learn from clay what to do with clay. So that was the fantastic thing that happened. And then after that, because of my involvement with crafts, I got connected with traditional craftsmen in India. So after the degree in design, I began to work with rural tribal indigenous communities, illiterate people. And I've traveled around the country, from Nagaland, Bihar, Orissa, Bengal, many, many places, worked with artisans. And and of course, I was again, quite cautious about how do I engage with the artisan communities. And I began to, I remember, I actually, my one long project was in Orissa with the potters community, where I was, supposed to create designs for this potters. And I lived there. At 6 months, I was living there. And and as I began to work with them, I found one very interesting thing. I found that there is no teaching at all in traditional communities, that the children learn pottery completely on their own. There was no teaching at all. And by the age of 12, children master pottery. 11, 12, like that, So I found this very interesting. So I began to observe children more deeply. The whole scenario of what do a parent do, child. So so I found that this was, diametrically opposite to the kind of treatment that modern educated people give to their children. uh, and I began to notice that, that they never say no to a child. Second, children never ask permission to an adult as to what they should be doing. They were existentially free. We should differentiate between what is existential freedom and the kind of nonsensical freedom that modernity talks about. Modernity takes away freedom and then give it in installments, as if you can give freedom. Whereas in indigenous illiterate communities, life gives freedom. It's a necessity of living beings to be autonomously free, to be in autonomy, so that they can shape themselves on their own. That's the primary, most important thing that I realized, that there is absolutely. And the other very important thing I found was that I very rarely see rural tribal children getting angry. Whereas, all kinds of tantrums are thrown in urban childhood, because you always tell no to the child. And so I found very, very interesting things about, the whole relationship between parents and children there. So, and it was at that time that I began to look at indigenous, illiterate communities a little bit more, what do you call that, more deeply. So let me now take you through a presentation. I think that will be better. Give me a minute. So, yeah. I should share the entire screen, no? Okay, so what do I... So tell me if you're able to see this, huh?
Yeah, we are able to see, Jinanji.
See what?
You can, yeah, see the presentation. Absolutely.
Okay, okay. So one very important thing that I realized in living with the Potters was this, that literates learn the word and illiterates learn the world. So this was a very, very important kind of a, insight, which actually, and then you see what happens is that literates are taught the word, whereas illiterates imbibe the world. So actually, there are hell of a lot of meaninglessness that we have created with all the words, because we have never understood what the real world is. So literates have created a completely imaginary ideas about life. So I will take you through a simple experience. Yeah, take a look at this. 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 So this is another experience, right? So this is actually learning the world. And this is learning the word. And this is a mental response, whereas the earlier one is a physiological response. Now, I'm sure most of you know where is Delhi. I'm sure you must have traveled, some of you. And just imagine traveling to Delhi from Bangalore and coming to Cochin or Bangalore. So for the literate people, going to Delhi means going up, and and coming to Bangalore means coming down. Am I right? Hello?
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
laugh at Jinanji.
Yeah, okay. Now please name the color now. Whatever I'm showing you, just name the color. You can, unmute and say this. It will be better. You all can unmute and tell the color. Name of the color if you feel like. Otherwise, just do it. Don't just look at it. Because if you
Red, black,
experience it only
green,
then...
red,
No,
white,
when I'm
Yellow.
doing it.
black,
Okay.
yellow.
Yeah, next. Now I will show you the next one. Okay. All right, now name the color now, what you see. Don't read, name. Color, fast.
Green,
Green,
white,
green,
purple,
white, yellow,
blue, black,
black,
red.
red.
Okay. But was it that easy than the earlier one?
No.
No.
No. So what happens
Difficult.
is that but children are able to name the color much faster, because the more you get into the trap of literacy, more you are trapped in the realm of the mind. So the mind completely overtakes you, and your seeing becomes numb. That's what literacy does it to us. It changes our beingness. And it actually changes from experiential to mental, from contextual to dependent, from process orientation to product. So, these are terminologies we can talk later, because I think it'll be little, again, this you will be only getting it more like a concept. And that actually is the problem with modernity, because we are only dealing with concepts. We don't know what real is actually, uh, because of the absence of a certain kind of a cognitive system that has been destroyed in the educated people. So if you look at the formation of the mind, literates are shaped by the word, illiterates are shaped by the world. Understanding happens in the realm of language and mind. For illiterates, understanding happens in the realm of experience itself, mind and body together, And the literate paradigm is they are in the realm of known. I think this becomes too analytical. Let me just jump into the next one. We can come back if you feel like. So I call this, the modern educated people are in cognitive delusion, a false belief based on incorrect inference about external reality that is firmly sustained despite what most everybody else believes. So, One interesting thing I want to check with you is that I'm sure most of you felt that when you went from Delhi to Bangalore or from Bangalore to Delhi, you felt you're going up or coming down. Now, this is what I call as cognitive delusion. Because I remember in Delhi, I was with a friend. There was a illiterate lady there. So someone introduced me to her, telling that I'm from down south. And of course, I was not right at that time. I was not in the kitchen. So when I went back to the kitchen, she started looking at me, wondering why. How did I come up? From down, how did I come up? For a literate person, down is different. For an illiterate person, down is under the ground. From the earth, somebody is coming up. So clearly, there is a cognitive delusion amongst the educated people, but they don't understand this at all because they have the power to delude themselves and exist in their notion that they are educated, they are advancing, they are progressing. All that kind of nonsensical ideas they have created about themselves, which completely prevents them from true addressing of what has gone wrong with modernity. So this definition I've took from one of the journals only. So it's not my definition. It's from a you know and so actual cognitive dissonance, not what the nonsensical Western science talks about. They have this silly idea about cognitive science. Actual cognitive dissonance is that the body imbibing the experience and mind engaging with language. So body learns something else and the mind learns something else. This is what cognitive dissonance is. Because of a fragmented mind, fragmented mind and body. That's the reason why two are learning two different things. So the operating system of a modern mind is linear, sequential, fragmented, compartmentalized, out of context, past, absent, analytical, abstract, certainty. So this is the gift of modern education and literacy, of course. And of course, now it is becoming even worse with the digital systems coming and wiring our neural network. It's quite unbelievable the damage that is being done to the brain now. Yeah. And this is the nature of written language: linear, sequential, fragmented. So you see, actually, one of the most important lessons of cognitive science is that we are shaped by what we experience. Now, this fundamental truth has been completely neglected when it comes to understanding how did the modern minded beingness uh, was shaped. And even though we keep talking about that senses are important for learning, when have the modern educated people used their senses? They read books and they imagine their stories in the head, but where have they ever used senses to understand anything for that matter? And the nature of experience, true experience, is non-linear, simultaneous, holistic, present, in process, self-organizing. So the paradox of modernity is this, that you can see how the parallel development of educational paradigm started, and AI, the whole artificial intelligence began. So you see that, please listen to this. I hope, let me just see if this can be heard.
One can look at the
Can you hear this?
Story of computer science.
Yeah, we can hear it. Yeah.
We have at least three ages. One is the age of programmers. In the age of programmers, you have to pay very smart people quite a lot of money to make some system behave in an intelligent way. We are now in the age of labelers, in which you pay a lot of people not much money in order to label data. And both of them, especially this one, is n going to infinity, number of labeled data. But of course, children don't have big data. We really would like to to be able to show one car and one plane to a child, like we do for a child, and then they're able immediately to generalize very well. So our ideal is I'm going to one, and to have computers that learn like children from experience.
So this is the paradox. And you know, there's so many institutions around the world now, I mean, in the Western paradigm, who are doing research on how children learn. But of course, they are doing it completely wrong because they are creating a lab-like environment to study children. You know, it's like this, that if you want to study the nature of dog, you have four options. You can study of course, you can take a PhD by reading books on dogs. Second is you can learn your pet dog, which is what most people do. And the third option is that you can study the street dogs. But the fourth option, which I feel is the best option, is to go to jungle and learn the real nature of dog. That is where you can truly understand this. So what is happening in the Western paradigm is that they are already studying very, very controlled and conditioned children and creating a universal idea that all children are like this, you know, which is absolutely wrong, actually. And the other very important thing, if you look at, is that that all this while, if you look at, there was hardly any research on how children learn, because the whole modern paradigm is about how to teach children. So all the research that you come across is about teaching, how to teach them better, which subject, when to give, you know, everything related to how to teach. Never ever about how they learn. And of course, even if that is done, it is never about learning the real world. It's about learning some silly things that they think that children should learn, you know. So what is interesting is that artificial intelligence is being developed by learning how children learn, and then using that for dumping children down. So this is the paradox of modernity. I mean, modernity is full of paradoxes. Let's not go into that. So now our choice is that whether we should learn from AI how to teach, or we should learn from children how to learn. Because this learning is an idea that has been completely misunderstood by modern minds, primarily because of their own education and their own ideas about learning. So I began to actually document children from 1991, 93, or 91, of course. I began to observe children. I began to document what children do in this indigenous illiterate communities. And so I've been documenting for several years what they do spontaneously, not what we tell them to do. Of course, in indigenous communities, nobody ever tells what children should do. So naturally, what they do is spontaneous and as dictated by life, not by ego. And of course, this, what I'm now talking about, is something that I came across much, much later. I realized that because I've been keenly observing what is knowledge creation, and have completely redefined this whole idea about cognitive science completely based on the fact that we are biologically learning the real world, not reading books and creating ideas. That's not learning at all. But how are we creating knowledge autonomously of the real world? And there is a very, very clear system behind that, which is something that has been completely neglected by because, you know, this whole modern mafia system of education will collapse if you truly understand what is learning. So let me take you through a simple documentation. So you see, this is the natural condition. The child is not applying knowledge that the child already has. They are engaging in the real world. There is no ready-made knowledge and nobody is teaching. This is the ideal condition for learning, for creation of knowledge. And learning, again, is a strange word, And you can see that development of natural processes at work. The child is developing learning process, child is creating knowledge, of course implicit, comprehension is taking place, and of course you can see that all these things are taking place. And natural qualities are getting developed. This is where creativity begins to happen, intelligence, being open, adventure, everything that has to do with cognitive abilities and other various other qualities can only be developed when you completely leave the child alone. So how we learn and what we learn are biologically bound. It's not our whims. The tools, qualities, attitudes, skills, all this is dictated by biology. Too much to read, don't read. So the way we explore the cell, the way we explore cell to learn, understand life, we need to revisit children afresh to understand what is to be a human being. Because I say that modern educated people are no longer human beings because they have turned against life and nature. They are turned against their body. They are completely on a destructive trail, destroying everything, ecological destruction. Everything is being destroyed by modern educated people. They have turned against life. So why children learn? Or why there is learning at all in life? Because I think we have become too anthropocentric and asking questions as if it's the only human beings that are doing all these things. So if you look at learning as a process of life, you find that sustaining of life is the only thing that every living being is doing. So sustainability for us, for the educated, is an afterthought. When you have destroyed almost everything, now we are now thinking how to become sustainable. But the very core of learning is to sustain life. And life ensures this at all costs. That's the thing. It's nothing to do with our abilities. These are all abilities given by life. So whether it is curiosity, creativity, spontaneity, adventure, fear, overcome, every damn thing that we have is actually given by life. So that we protect life, we sustain life. We don't deviate from the natural alignment of the flow of life. So how children learn? So the important thing you need to understand is that children are learning the real world, and that is done autonomously, and there is very strict rules given by nature for this. Again, these are not man-made rules. These rules are given by life. It's like this, that the rules of digestion, is it anthropocentric or is it nature given? It's exactly like that. But now we are tampering food also, because actually the mind is now deciding what to eat, not the intelligence of the body that is allowed to eat as per the context, as per the requirement of its biological need. We have destroyed these instincts so badly that now we are depending upon the mind. The mind will now tell what to eat, what to avoid, and all that. So they recreate their experiences using whatever is available, so that they use their body itself as the first toy. Because toy is another dangerous idea of modern minds. Play, toy, learning, art. So they explore the world playfully. So the playfulness is the quality a child has. So every activity is turned into play, and every object is a potential toy. That's how children engage with the world. How children learn? They experiencing the whole, exploring the parts, and organic integration. So my request is, don't make it into a theory or anything. I'm just telling that this is the way children learn. So we just have to respect life and allow children to learn. That's what I mean by this. Not again, the whole tragedy which I find with Montessori is this. Montessori understood how senses function everything about children, but then she turned that whole thing into a method. So in that sense, then she totally neglected the fact that children are autonomously creating knowledge of the real world. So this is the problem I find with the Western approach, that everything is about control, everything is about teaching, everything is about instruction, everything is about help. You know, that there is absolutely no respect for the other, which I think is the fundamental problem of modernity actually. So there is something, so these terminologies are all my terminologies. I don't know what they talk about, but what I tell is that cognitive system is something, again, I think it's my terminology. What I mean by cognitive system is, what is the cognitive source, the source that you learn? What is the cognitive tool, senses, and and what is the process? How does that process happen? And how does understanding takes place? So this whole thing, from cognitive source, which is the content of learning, to the understanding of that, that is what I call as the cognitive system. So how the senses get developed, how process get developed, qualities, abilities, skills, habits, structure, and finally understanding. So senses are the tools that connect the inner and the outer world. You can see that the child is constantly observing. So the difference between other living beings and human being is that human being when the human being is the human being is given fantastic potential for their awakening, but human being can also be conditioned. So this awakening is when there is no instruction at all. Then whatever is inherent in the child, in the child will awaken and enable and the development of a proper natural cognitive system. Actually, this next one is the most important video that I have, which very clearly, tells you how actual learning takes place. You can actually look at the way the child is now looking at the similarity and difference. So yeah, actually it's getting too boring for me to keep on doing this one way kind of thing, and especially in a situation where I'm not able to see anybody's faces. I only see the screen. So let me open up for some kind of and if the requirement arises, I will start sharing something. So is that okay?
Yes.
Surely, we can get into interactive mode, Jinan.
Yeah. So one of the main thing that I tell people before I present is that don't believe in anything I say. This is my request, because you are basically a believer. Education is nothing about a belief system. And so the basic issue is, what I say is that if you truly observe your child, the child will tell you what is learning. But the tragedy is that modern educated people don't observe children at all. So, and because they have ideas what to teach, how to do with children. So naturally they don't observe children. So in my own case, what happened was that in 2000, I happened to adopt a child. So when the child came to my life, I decided three things: never say no to her, always follow her, never lie to her. And these three things completely changed the way I understood children. First of all, I understood that, that senses are the most important tools, and they are extremely intelligent. They are, they are very, very, they know what to do. It's a very clear thing, because it is dictated not by the ego but the being. Because all living beings know how exactly to function. Of course, it is only the educated who doesn't know. That's a different matter. But people who are not educated I mean, all other living beings know exactly how to function, because they are in alignment with nature. They are nature itself. So what I'm also trying to say is that I've actually decoded very clearly how children learn, what they learn, how they learn, what is the process involved, you know. So, and actually I would take this as a opportunity to completely confuse you and also create guilt in you, so that at least now you will start wondering. See, the whole problem with educated is that everyone thinks that they know what to do. I'm talking about including the alternative sector. Today I find that not only the mainstream,
4
but
I said. Why are only 3 over here?
oh my God, who is this getting angry? And that is to a child. It's very clear. Why are 3 only there? Okay. All right. Now, I forgot what I was telling.
Even the alternate system is.
So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is that, see, the mainstream is completely West oriented. West has overtaken the mainstream completely. And the tragedy is that even the alternative is completely run by the Western ideas. This is what I find extremely dangerous, actually. See, you must understand that I am not against West in that sense. I am against text. The damage that has happened to their cognitive system is my problem, because actually, if you actually study one scientist from the West, one person, his name is Ian McElchrist. He's written a book called Master and the Emissary. Very, very important study to understand how mind and body got fragmented. The master and the emissary. How the the brain, left brain began, I don't know which side of the brain, but one brain started dominating the other brain. The rational brain began to dominate the intuitive brain and made it into a servant. So the name of the book itself is The Master and the Emissary, Making of the Western Mind. So it's not that I am the only one who is critiquing this. There are many, many people from the West who has been trying to criticize. If you look at Ivan Illich, for example, Ivan Illich is one of the most important persons that you should be reading to understand what is going wrong with modernity. Now, you must understand one thing, that we have to study the West because we are all mentally West. We are actually RNIs. RNIs, resident non-Indians. Yeah. We are all intellectually or brain-wise, we are all Western. Don't have any doubt about that. All your theories, all your understanding of children comes from reading Western books only. So when do you understand, that there is a fundamental problem with that? So I'm not recommending that you should read some silly Indian books. Don't read any book. But there is no difference between reading Veda or reading Bible or reading physics or reading chemistry. It's all same nonsense. Because the way your brain is going to be rewired, whichever book you read is the same. So the problem is that we don't function as a biological being equipped by life to see the world and understand the world in a manner that has been designed by life. That is the whole crisis is.
Sir, can I say something?
Please.
My name is Rukmini. I'm from Chennai. As you are talking, I have a lot of thoughts going on. I don't know where I'll end up with this.
Yeah.
But from my experience of life, my present understanding is that life brings you what it has to bring you. no matter what you plan or do, or you can blame or give credit to different people, to yourself, but you are where you are
Yeah.
because you're got to be here.
Yeah.
That comes from my understanding and my trying to understand my life.
Yeah.
And now I have a 15-year-old son who is in 10th standard,
Yeah.
and I and my husband, both of us would like to, and we have been trying to non-raise him or raise him, however,
Tell the story.
freely, to let him be, to choose his own path, to not curb his thought process as much as possible. But like you said, the thought process, the school systems, the society around us, everything puts ideas um, in our head that I tend to get bogged down or worried about, oh, what will the future be for my son? So all my curbing of his freedom comes from my fear or my not trusting the process of his own process, my son's own process. Just as I am comfortable now, right now in the present moment, the way I want to lead, I should be able to allow him to be the way he feels in a given moment. So that trust kind of I lose that trust many times, and I keep coming
Yeah.
back to
I
that.
think, let's focus on some things that I'm talking about. I'm sorry to intervene.
Yeah,
That if there is a very clear, if there is any clear something that you need to be clarified, please ask.
sure, okay,
Yeah. Fix that. Stick to that, please.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, where do you go from here?
Yeah.
No, that's what
Yeah.
it is.
So the problem is that you have not understood anything and you want to decide what to do. See, this is the problem with modernity. Without understanding what to do, we are all into action. Without understanding how learning actually take place, you have started doing everything. So when do you actually spend time to truly understand what is learning? So this is the problem, that everybody is offering all kinds of merchandise and you go into that. So how much effort has been actually spent in really understanding how children learn, or how do we learn at all, or if there is any brain damage that we have undergone? So that's a problem. I feel that what I feel very crucially is revisit childhood, revisit how actually children learn, what is the impact of literacy on the brain, or all these new technologies that are being brought up. And you see, you don't have to do too much effort. You just actually study what the West has been doing in a very systematic manner, and you will find out that, see, for example, if you look at cognitive science was always to do with mind. And you must understand another very important thing. See, the very, very beginning of cognitive science as a study, do you know can you guess which department uh, initiated the study? Cognitive science. I'm asking, whoever feels I can answer, which department you think would have started cognitive science as a research? Take a guess. No, it's not too difficult.
Psychiatric.
Secretary.
So one is psychiatry, other one?
Psychology, same.
Computer science. Computer science.
Military.
Yeah. So basically, it actually started in mechanical department, because they were thinking of how to make machines intelligent. So the whole idea is so weird that and even now, if you see, most people say, I'm doing cognitive science, I'm doing cognitive science. All of them are talking about cognitive science as per the requirement of developing artificial intelligence and machine learning. So you would think that cognitive science is how actually cognition takes place. What is cognition? No. So the whole study on cognition is being done basically for developing intelligent machines, and not to relook at whether there is anything wrong that we have done with our whole educational paradigm.
Jinan, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So, since all the kids have it,
All the
kids have it naturally. That's what you're saying, right?
yeah,
That intrinsic way of learning.
yeah.
So my question is that, I mean, obviously I had it at some point of time,
Absolutely.
and I lost it at some point of time. So how does that happen? Like, how do I lose it? If I can
No,
learn intrinsically, even if someone is trying to impose something on me,
yeah.
that intrinsic capability of learning will still remain, although there will be some layers added on top of it. As you said, like some sort of conditioning will come on top of it, and all
Yeah.
those things will happen. But if I can somehow, even at this age, so I'm not talking about kids now, I'm simply saying that
Yeah,
as a
no, I
human,
understand that. So this is another problem, that when people talk about unschooling their child, they are talking absolute nonsense. Unschooling has to be done to the adult, not to children. Children are perfectly fine. Unschooling, unlearning, all these things are people being used, for children. No, it's you who has the problem. Children are absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with them at all. The adult is cognitively damaged because they have spent so much time reading and thinking and reading and thinking. That's all. They've never seen anything. So, see, basically, I have been actually teaching in design schools. There is a program called Foundation Program, which is in the first year of design. And I have seen that year, there's a potential for working on how to reclaim your natural cognitive system, how to start you, because you see the difference between design education and other engineering education is that design education is actually about experience. Design education is about doing and learning, not about reading and thinking. So naturally, the foundation program that is given for design education is almost like a repair job year, where you spend 1 year reclaiming the abilities you lost through the whole schooling and become more open and more exploratory. Because usually the educators are not exploratory at all. I mean, when they start 12th, they're finished by 12th. So the 1 year is given for them to be more physically active, do things, make things, fail, so that 1 year. So I have actually worked out this whole 1 year in a very, very systematic manner, looking at how to how to address, first of all, how to look at the habits of education, wrong habits. You see, the argumentative mind, the concluding mind, all this is coming from language. So because the whole modern education is about conclusions, never about explorations. So how do you shift from a brain that has been trained for conclusion into openness? And then the other thing that I work on is how do you sensitize the senses, how to get your senses back, how to start observation. So
yeah. So
you see,
I'm sorry.
yeah. So basically, first of all, you need to understand what are the damages that you've gone through.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I'm coming from a place where, so I've been working on this for a while, and this is exactly what I subscribe to. Like
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
language is the main problem. I really dialed down to it, and I at some point of time
yeah,
understood it, and I realized that this is the thing that we can just do away with.
yeah,
So the only problem that I find with it is the people who are already in that space.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
basically, as you said, there's nothing wrong with the kids. So we can just simply
yeah.
do away with the language well apart, and then you can just have a separate society, sort of, to, so to speak. But
No, no. You
then the
see,
people who have
Acha,
learned it already, who have learned it, who have been conditioned already, then they
no.
are sort of like disabled.
See, there is no problem with language if it is learned in the proper way. I
Exactly.
distinguish
So,
between two kinds of languages. One language is experiential language, where experience is a basis for the language.
mm,
Whereas what we have in modernity is mental language, where experience is secondary. That you create all kinds of words
mm,
which doesn't have an experiential correlation. So you create
right.
all kinds of words, conceptual words, and you
Yeah.
create a lot of drama around it.
And just like, for example, you gave that example of down south. So all I'm
Yeah,
saying is
yeah,
that obviously for an illiterate person or someone who has lower level of literacy, down simply means down.
yeah,
But
absolutely.
at the same time, down south is also a concept that, at least a word that is like good enough in a different circle, if in a different kind of circle, down south is an important phrase.
But no, that is not. It's a delusion. It's delusion.
Absolutely.
See, the problem is that
But
modern educated people are developing everything from their delusionary ideas about the world.
yeah,
This
that
is the
would be
problem.
true for all words, right? Like
Pardon?
down also, for example, it's just like down south, even
Yeah.
down is
No,
is
absolutely. You see,
illusionary concept.
I have actually something called, I'm actually, in the process of writing a book called Redefinitions. And I have several words that I feel the modernity has completely misinterpreted. Learning, for example, learning. What is
Yeah.
learning? I can tell you there are hundreds of words which one can. So, you see, the thing is that, so there is no integrity. The problem is there is no integrity. You don't mean what you say. you know so the thing is that how do we discipline ourselves to actually say what we actually live? So the whole hypocrisy is a modern phenomena, because what you say and what you do are two different things, and it again is coming from the mind body problem. you know you see, actually,
So for that
I have
illiterate person, for example,
pardon.
the illiterate person, for that illiterate person, when they
Yeah,
point towards their feet, it means down.
absolutely.
And for the other person, on a map, it looks like that south means down.
Yeah.
Right. All I'm saying is that, but actually, what they mean, the even the illiterate person, what they mean is that anything which is towards the center of the earth is down. It's not actually, feet towards the feet. So that ways, I don't think even one word is better than the other. It's like all the words are
No,
equally
listen, I don't
illusionary.
want to get into any kind. This is a silly argumentation. Don't get into argumentation, because you will defeat yourself in this argumentative mode. The problem with modern educated is that they only know how to argue, never to hold anything, never to hold anything as a doubt. So my job is not to make you make into any kind of conclusion, but to confuse you like anything, so that you actually begin to hold doubts. This is the quality that you must acquire, that how do you hold a question and allow learn understanding to take place. It is like this. The crisis of modernity is what I mean. There are in full crisis only. I'll give you one crisis. What is understanding? How do you understand anything? That's you must ask. What is understanding? How does it happen? you know First of all, how does it happen naturally, and how does it happen in a modern educated person? For modern educated person, they will read of someone else has written, not their writing anyway. They will read and they will conclude, because throughout their schooling paradigm, they have only dealt with concluded information, and they call it knowledge. That's another tragedy. It's just information. They deal with information, but they mistake it as knowledge, and they are very certain about it. So their conclusion is done by reasoning. Am I right? Reasoning is the tool that you used to say, this is like this, this is like this, this is like this, so this is like this. So you put a full stop. That's what's called conclusion. Am I right? Now just recollect, how did you learn your mother tongue? Did you make any conclusion? Did you make any effort? Did you learn? You imbibed, you absorbed. So if you look at just the way that you learned your mother tongue, you will find the difference between what is actual learning and what is forced learning. Forced learning means learning as a result of teaching. Natural learning is without effort, you're imbibing and knowing is taking place on its own. You're not making any effort. You see? So, you see, I'm very sorry because, I actually have hell of a lot of videos and images which I would like to share, but, I mean, somehow this kind of format is little problematic, that because I have to see people when I say, I can't just look at the screen and keep shouting, no? So, unless I find, people either getting angry or upset or smiling or something, I mean, there are so many people who get upset and angry because, I like to give galis. I don't have any problem with that. I mean, there is no malintention. This is just to confuse people and to make, you see, the problem with the educated is that they're too egoistic and too about themselves, and unless you drop that and become humble, no learning can take place. You have to go into a state of unknowing and say, Baba, I don't know anything. And you just have to be open to life, for life to teach you. That's what is happening. It is life that is teaching you with the system that life has given to you. But the modernity brings in their ego and thinks that they are the one who are learning. This is the problem. One is being-based learning and the other is ego-based learning. Whole modern education is ego-based learning, that you are the learner. Being-based learning takes place in spite of you. You don't have much role. Learning is taking place just the way you imbibed your mother tongue. And I keep telling this, that in Bangalore slums, children imbibe 4 languages by they reach 4 years. No effort. And look at the way some of, most of us speak English. I'm talking about myself. Hardly no grammar, kuch bhi bakta rehta hai, somehow manage. That's because I tried to learn that language. That's the whole problem. If I had let understanding take place, I'm sure I would have been able to speak much better, But I tried to learn grammar and words and meanings and all that, and I still have not sorted it out, Otherwise, children, if in your mother tongue, you don't have to sort out the grammar, no? Right? It just happens. So, in case of that, sorry, Pritish, you want to?
Yeah, Chiranjeev. I had a question that, what is the importance of the environment while, because most of us are living in cities surrounded with modernity. How can we experience that indigenous life and,
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
See, everything is context. Context plays the most important role. Please understand this. You see, even this is again the problem with modern minds. We don't think that when we think of human beings, we don't think of the context in which the human being is living. It's like this. When you talk about fish, I'm talking about a live fish, not what you eat, but a live fish. You cannot imagine fish without the water, no? Without the context, there is no fish, actually. Exactly like this. Without the context, there is no human being. And when I say knowledge, it is knowledge that the context dictates. Context is what is shaping your beingness. I'll tell you how the fragmentation takes place. when a child goes to school, the body imbibes all the experiences, that feelings, emotions, and experience, the body imbibes it. But the child doesn't have any choice at all. Body learns without choice. Please understand this. It is a mind that is choosing which book to read and which book not to read. Body cannot choose at all. If you are feeling hot now, your body cannot choose. If there is wind, it will absorb. Correct, no? So the senses are functioning without your ego's dictates. It will just imbibe. So the natural cognitive process is done by the body, by the senses, not by the mind. When you say, I'll give you an example. When you say, mango, for example, you take an example, mango, when you're eating mango, that is only when you can experience it, na? When you know that is. And you can call mango, tango, congo, chango, any name you can give. But the taste is not going to change. The shape is not going to change. All the sensory inputs that a mango gives is not going to change. Correct? No. So so what is the role of language then? The role of language is minority compared to role of the real world, In that sense, the role of the mind is secondary to the role of the body. Because it is the body that is experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
Mind has a role to assist the body in experiencing and sorting this thing out. For example, take the example of mango itself. When different stages of mango is eaten, the taste is done by the body, but the differentiation probably is done by the mind. It says, no, it's a different mango. The name of this mango is Alfonso, the other mango is something else, different stages of mango. So all these are put under one type of mango. Similarly, you eat different fruits. So the notion of fruit is something that the body won't understand. If the mind will understand what is fruit, body will understand something that is concrete. When you say grapes, then body will immediately get, because that memory will come, yeah, that's sweet, Understand, huh? So there is clearly a role between the difference between how does the senses experience and how does it get organized by the mind and hold it as concepts. So the very idea of concept formation is something that can happen when the mind and body are functioning together, but by the given concrete inputs by the body. So what I'm trying to say is that the body is experiencing the context. And the other very important thing about nature is that, unlike other living beings, human beings actually has to learn from nature how to be alive, how to live. So human beings has to be with the natural things, not with mechanized machine things. We must see life happening around us. Like, some small plant growing up, giving fruits, withering away, animals. So we actually see life actually around us, different kinds of life. So even when you say sex education, it's only the strange thing that modern people now needs to be taught how to, make children. I mean, all this sex education kind of thing is now becoming issues now. In fact, this whole idea of parenting, it's only the modern educated who needs parenting workshop, na? That simply shows their alienation, nothing else, no? If a species doesn't know how to look after their own child, it's a tragedy, yeah. Yeah, because these are all biological instinct that is there in every living being. So what I'm trying to say is that in the context, you must see life happening around you. A chicken giving egg or a hen giving egg, it is now becoming, how hatching happens. So we must see life happening around us all the time. So on an everyday basis, the child is able to see all kinds of things. See, I stay in a village. And I find that a typical child is able to experience different stages of life on a day-to-day basis, from 0 to 70, 80, 90, whichever, age, almost on an everyday basis. They will see somebody is sick, somebody is, giving birth, there is a marriage, there is death. Everything about life the child is seeing. This is the lesson a child should learn, no? That this is how life is. But when do we, and I also find that many educated people now feel that, no, children should not be exposed to death. I mean, I keep hearing this kind of, nonsensical idea that educated people talk about, that how do you protect child from this, that, all kinds of things. Of course, in modernity, there is nothing that you should learn from. It's a very tragic place.
Great. Thank you, Jinan. I got the answer.
Jinanji, this is Gayatri.
Yeah, Gayatri, little louder, please.
Yeah. So my question is, I mean, I have a lot of, and really, it's very deep, like whatever you have spoken, and I feel right now, right, I'm in a corporate world, I'm a digital marketer. It's all kind of, so much away from nature, away from life, right? And there is always this, constant competition, right? Where you don't want to be in that competition. You have an appraisal happening, right? You're very, very distant from life, right? And that oneness that, so I had done, I had been initiated into a Kriya long ago. And when I had that experience, I could literally feel no difference between me and another person or me and anything else, right? And I could feel everything as one, right? But soon after, right, when I came back, into my routine life, everything was again, different for me, right? My ego started, playing out there, right? So how can, my mother not listen to me? How can my husband not listen to me, right? Why is nobody listening to me, right? So this, where you really want to, the pleasantness that came out of that oneness, but you're unable to, experience on a day-to-day basis. That is really, really, I am suffering, right, on an everyday basis, because once you know that pleasantness, but every day you're in that unpleasantness, because every day when something happens, you're triggered, and again there is a distance, because you see other person as only different, as an another entity, not willing to, make them part of, your life. Though you're trying, you're unable to, right? Because 33 years of conditioning and, being in a certain way has happened. So my question is again, how do I break free from that, right? Where I really want to feel that oneness, right? I really want to feel that pleasantness inside.
That's a very difficult thing to answer for somebody else, no? You will have to take the step, no? You see, I told you, when I was in fourth year engineering, I decided never to work in my life. I don't belong to Tata Birla family. Lower middle class, eldest son, 4 children. In spite of all the social pressure, I decided there is something deep within me which is demanding me to do this. And I think this kind of call is given to everybody in life, The inner calling is always there. Just that we don't want to listen to that, because we are responding to the social calling, which is absolutely against life. So at some point of time, you have to just say, no, enough is enough. I don't know. I mean, this is the way I look at it. There may be other ways of dealing with it, that, people keep telling that you should be like a lotus leaf or something like that, that, you're in the muck, but, you should be pure. I don't know how to do that, So that you can find out. But to me, it is very important that, you see, the children have no choice. They are absorbing everything that is happening. You see, I talk about what is called as a cognitive foundation. Cognitive foundation is something that that happens in the initial years of the childhood. And the cognitive foundation is purely sensory. And in a natural system, there is a very clear way for us to, develop language based on this. In fact, I have, I have presentations, but sorry, I'm not able to do all that. Uh, uh, but what happens in the modern education is that this cognitive foundation and its possibility for developing a certain system, a way of cognitive development, is completely killed, because you are forced into a system where you are made to learn language, and that is being taught to you. So the biggest problem of modernity are two. One is that it is involved in teaching, it is involved in ready-made knowledge. Two issues, just two issues. That we are dealing with ready-made knowledge instead of us creating knowledge. Well, that is what we are biologically equipped to. We are biologically equipped to create knowledge. Even the mother tongue that we are talking about, actually it is created by us. Because, you see, mother tongue is learned in the context of real life. So before the child learns the words, the child is able to understand what you're talking about. Because the child is seeing what is happening. For example, that that you're telling that what do you call that? That please keep the chair near the table. Something like that. I'm just random. I'm telling that keep the chair near the table. So the child is hearing that, also at the same time seeing that somebody is keeping the chair and keeping near the table. Then again, the child, somebody says, take the chair out of the room. So every time the child is hearing something which is actually for the child just blubbery, just blah, 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 blah. That's all. But the child is seeing that an action is taking place, and the child has made sense that this set of words meant this set of action. Understand? So the understanding has already taken place outside the realm of language. So slowly, the child then makes the connection. So this is where creativity is. Child makes the connection between the word and the world. The object chair and the word chair is connected by the child. You're not doing that now. You're not pointing each time, this is chair, this is table, this is... No, you're not doing that now. You're random. There is a talk that is happening amongst adults. Child is just making sense of it. So that is the autonomy and intelligence of the child. And that is what should continue if there is no ready-made knowledge and if there is no teaching. And this is the difference, that all indigenous communities are based on natural rules, which is imposed by life. That autonomy is there, they are creating knowledge. So the issue, now before I finish, let me tell you that the basic issue now is required is that people who are concerned must come together and create absolutely fresh about various aspects of cognition. What is knowledge creation? Because we have to study knowledge creation. I want to ask you one thing. That I'm sure you all must be remembering that the most boring subject when you were in your childhood must have been grammar, no? You remember how grammar was taught to you? Initial stages? I think it was the most boring subject. Most boring subject was grammar. But all of us knew how to speak very well, which means implicitly all of us knew grammar. Am I right? We thought that we wouldn't be speaking our mother tongue, no? So implicitly we knew grammar, but articulating that and explicit knowledge of grammar was what was missing. And when they began to teach you explicit grammar, you got terribly bored. So the question that I'm now asking is that, how do we make what we already know implicitly explicit? This is what we should be asking. Because we are completely failed. This whole modern education has completely failed because it is creating people that, first of all, against life. Secondly, 90% are absolute mediocres and have no interest in education. This is the gift of modern education. You will hardly find anybody who is committed to learning. No deep interest in anything for that matter. And this is only the educated are like that. You go to any rural tribal area, any farmer you meet, that farmer is even at whatever age they are interested in learning about farming. Am I right? Why are they able to keep up to this? Why is the educated has no interest in knowledge at all? So I think these are fundamental things that because I believe that people who are concerned must come together and start absolutely fundamental research. Because and also with the idea that unless we start something today, nothing is going to change for another 1,000 years. So to me, 1,000 year is the plan, not your lifetime, not next lifetime. We should actually have a really long-term view as to how because why I'm telling this, because the modernity is so powerful and so insensitive and so arrogant that it will never in the recent future, it will never relook at what is wrong with it. That's a problem. Otherwise, every newborn child is a possibility for transformation, for complete change. But it can only happen when there are sufficient people understanding that what is the kind of environment a child needs for awakening. What is the context that we should provide for the awakening of the child.
Jinanji, thank you very much. This has been an amazing 1.5 hours, and I can see a lot of parents thinking the how part. But I guess you have answered it by saying we are as autonomous as the children are, and if we and children get together, we can have an amazing autonomous team which can think through this. And I think that's where the real work lies. So this is absolutely wonderful. I think we've all churned nicely, thrown into the water, just like the fish. So I would not like to take extra time. And I'm sure there are more questions, and it's great that we have that we have loads and loads of questions.
So if anybody is interested in collaborating with me, please connect with me. I'm actually thinking of an internship for somebody to come and spend minimum 3 months with me. And of course, this is basically for my selfish reason. You have to help me out in writing and reading and all that. And in that process, if you are helped, that's good. Otherwise, so if anyone is interested either in internship or to work in a long term, I mean, not directly, but in a, asking these fundamental questions and how do we take it forward, that deeper questions about learning, cognition, biology, etc., please feel free to contact me. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Sir, how can one contact?
Yeah, that's there in the group, and it's there. His website is there in the group. All the details are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people can pick it up from there. Yeah.
One last question.
Sorry, we'll not be able to take more questions. Sorry, we will, because it's not one last question. I guess there should be thousands of more questions. That's what Jinanji wants, to confuse us, to make us think, and let us enjoy those questions, not necessarily get them answered. I think that's what I'm getting from Jinanji. So let's do that. And there are many more ways of taking these questions forward. So yeah, thank you, Jinanji, and thank you, everybody. And we will find ways of collaborating and taking this forward, Jinanji.
Absolutely.
We are in sync with totally what you are talking about. And in our own ways, we have been trying to say that to the world. So let's see how we can work together. Absolutely. Next 1,000 years is our time plan. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. For the parents, just a quick poll. If you want to just leave your thoughts in terms of what next, because we meet every Saturday at 5 o'clock. So please, you can respond to the poll as we sign off. Yeah.
Can I leave?
Yes, please, Jinanji.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Pranav, you wanted to share something? Sorry.
No, that's it.
Yeah, do leave your thoughts in the poll so that we know who to call. What is it that you are all looking for so that our meetups every Saturday become more meaningful for more people. Yeah, and thank you for joining in today. I will also post the recording in our group. I'm also posting a link just in case you're not part of our WhatsApp group. You can join in there.
Yeah, in fact, just a small thing. We also invite parents in case you are aware of somebody, you know somebody like Jinan Ji or any such person who have been firmly into education, learning, and this sort of thing. We'll provide a platform. Please help us invite such people so that we can spread more of this amongst our families, other families. Yeah, so it's invitation to everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Dhanyavad.